Close your eyes now, my dear, and let this be the moment you finally stop narrating the problem and begin speaking the life you actually want. You don't need to have it all figured out tonight. You don't need the perfect words yet. You only need to breathe, to soften, to begin. 12 gentle truths are waiting for you here, each one a small doorway into creation, into new language, into the quiet power of speaking a different story than the one you've been repeating. There is nothing to fix tonight, nothing to solve immediately, only a new way of speaking to begin practicing. Just your breath, arriving and leaving, patient and unhurried, asking nothing more of you than presence right now. Nothing is required of you except your breath and your willingness to speak differently starting now. So let your shoulders drop, let your jaw soften, let your whole body settle into the truth that your words are already shaping what comes next. And let us begin together, softly, the way real change always begins. There is a story many of us tell without ever noticing we're telling it, my dear. Repeated so often it starts to feel like simple, unquestioned fact. Not a lie exactly, but a narrow lens, focused only on what's wrong, rarely on what's still possible or could become true. Tonight, let's notice that story together. What version of your life have you been quietly repeating over and over? Without realizing it, breathe in slowly. And as you exhale, whisper softly, I am willing to tell a different story starting tonight. Feel how unfamiliar that sentence might sound at first, almost like setting down a script you've been reciting for years. A woman once said she hadn't realized how often she described her life as stuck until a friend gently repeated her own words back to her. What did she notice? Hearing her own story spoken aloud by someone else. This isn't about denying real difficulty. It's about noticing how repetition shapes belief, quietly, regardless of whether the repeated story is even still accurate or true. That repeated story costs more than most people realize, quietly convincing the mind that nothing has changed, even when something clearly has. Tonight, we begin gently noticing that story, not to shame it, but simply to see it clearly and honestly. And seeing it clearly is often the very first step toward finally telling a new one, gently, without force. Have you noticed how the words you use to describe your life tend to quietly become the boundaries you live within, day after day, without much question? Not through magic, but through repetition, through belief, through the choices those words gently guide you toward or steer you away from. This isn't superstition, my dear. It's simply how language shapes perception, and perception shapes action over time. A real-world example makes this easier to feel than any explanation could offer. A man once said he described himself as unlucky so often that he stopped noticing opportunities that didn't fit that story, filtering them out entirely. The moment he began saying, "Good things are starting to find me," he began noticing things he'd overlooked before. He hadn't expected his own language to have been quietly editing his reality all along. The pattern here is subtle, but remarkably consistent for nearly everyone who examines it, honestly and carefully over time. Repeated words shape attention, and attention shapes what we notice. And what we notice shapes what we believe is truly possible for us. Changing the words doesn't change the facts overnight, but it changes what you're able to see and act on going forward. What you keep saying about your life is quietly becoming the walls you live inside, day after day, without you fully realizing it. Notice, just for a moment, the last few sentences you said about your own life today. Were they describing a problem or describing a possibility? Simply notice, without needing to change anything yet. There is a quiet shift, my dear, between describing what already is and speaking what you want to become true instead, and it changes nearly everything. Most people spend most of their language describing, rarely creating, without realizing there's an important difference at all. Tonight, let's practice that shift together. What would it sound like to speak your life forward instead of only backward? Older traditions understood this shift as sacred, believing that words held creative power, not just descriptive power, shaping what followed. A grandmother once told her granddaughter that speaking a wish aloud, with intention, planted something real, even if invisible at first. Modern minds, so used to only reporting facts, often resist this idea until they finally experience it directly themselves. What might shift if you started speaking your life the way you want it to become, rather than only how it currently is? People who begin practicing this shift often describe an unexpected sense of possibility opening where only repetition had been present before now. As if simply changing the words gave permission for something new to finally begin forming underneath them, quietly, without force. It isn't pretending, it's creating, using language as a tool rather than only a mirror, reflecting what's already there in front of you. And in that creating, something in your life slowly begins shifting to match the new words you've started speaking. As we continue into this, there's a quiet reason certain changes only begin once you finally stop describing the old reality out loud. Speaking your future, my dear, doesn't mean denying your present. It simply means giving your words somewhere entirely new to point toward from here. Tonight, let's practice speaking forward, gently, without needing the future to already be proven true or certain. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, "I am becoming someone who lives a life I love." Feel how strange that sentence might sound at first, and how quickly your chest responds anyway, softening just slightly. A woman once said the day she stopped saying, "My life is hard," and started saying, "My life is changing," something in her posture actually shifted. What was she finally allowing herself to imagine in that quiet, unfamiliar moment? This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about widening the story beyond only the difficulty currently present in front of you right now. Speaking your future doesn't erase today's challenges. It simply adds a second thread, one pointed toward where you're headed, instead of only where you've already been. Once you begin speaking forward regularly, your attention tends to follow, noticing evidence of that future beginning to quietly form. And that noticing, it turns out, was capable of guiding you toward it all along, gently, one small step at a time. There is a specific moment, my dear, when a complaint can either stay a complaint or quietly transform into a creative intention instead, right there. Most people rush past this moment, venting without noticing it. Yet it holds real, quiet power over what comes next in life. Tonight, let's slow down enough to actually notice that moment arriving within you. Breathe in, and as you exhale, whisper, "Instead of complaining, I choose to speak what I want to create." Feel your jaw unclench. Feel something in your chest loosen that had been tight around an old, repeated frustration. A retired teacher once said the day she stopped venting and started declaring what she wanted instead was the same day her life began to shift. What changed in her the moment complaint finally turned into creation? Complaint keeps attention fixed on what's wrong, repeating it, reinforcing it, without ever pointing anywhere new or genuinely different for you. Creation redirects that same energy toward what's wanted instead, gently guiding attention and action in an entirely new direction. Once complaint turns into creation, even briefly, life tends to feel less stuck, less repetitive, less like the same old story replaying. And that redirection, once practiced, tends to open doors complaint alone could never quite find or unlock on its own. Old traditions understood language differently than most modern minds do, my dear. Not as neutral description, but as active, creative, shaping force. They believed the words spoken aloud, repeated with intention, quietly shaped what eventually became real in the physical world around them. Somewhere along the way, this understanding faded, replaced by the belief that words are simply reports on what already exists. An elderly man once said his mother taught him that a house is built one word at a time, long before it's ever built one brick at a time. He still repeats this to himself, decades later, whenever he catches himself describing only what's broken instead of what's possible. What is it about seeing language this way that brings such immediate, noticeable shift in energy? The pattern many notice is emotional rather than purely philosophical in nature, though both certainly play a role in how it lands. Repeated complaint tends to keep the nervous system anxiously fixated on lack, on what's missing, on what's still going wrong constantly. Repeated creation, offered instead, allows the nervous system to focus on possibility, on movement, on what's beginning to quietly form. That small shift seems to quietly protect your energy, no matter how long the full change takes to fully arrive. Just for a moment, imagine speaking one sentence about the life you're creating, rather than the problem you've been describing. Notice how different even the simple thought of that sentence feels inside you right now. Repetition, my dear, doesn't care whether what's repeated is helpful or harmful. It simply builds whatever gets repeated most consistently over time. This isn't good or bad. It's simply how belief forms, brick by brick, sentence by sentence, day after day. Tonight, let's notice what you've been building unintentionally through repetition. A woman once said she'd repeated the phrase, "nothing ever works out for me," so often that she stopped noticing when things actually did work out. The moment she began repeating, "things are starting to work out for me," she began noticing evidence she'd been filtering out before. What might you have been unintentionally building simply through repeated language you never questioned? The mechanism here is simple, though rarely discussed in everyday conversation between people, repeating old stories without ever noticing the pattern. Repetition strengthens neural pathways, making repeated thoughts and words easier to access, more automatic, more deeply believed over time. Recognizing this shifts what you choose to repeat deliberately, rather than allowing old patterns to repeat themselves indefinitely without question. And once you begin repeating something new, that new pathway strengthens too, quietly, the same reliable way as before. There is a quiet practice, my dear, of speaking your new reality into being, gently, consistently, without needing it to be fully true yet. Most people wait for proof before speaking differently, but proof often arrives after the new language, not before it. Tonight, let's practice speaking that new reality together, gently, for just a few sentences. Whisper softly, "I am creating a life I love, one word, one choice, one day at a time." Feel how tender that sentence feels, how different from the usual descriptions of what's currently difficult or unresolved. A man once said speaking his new reality nightly, even before he believed it fully, slowly changed how he showed up during the day. What new reality might you begin speaking tonight, even before it feels entirely true? This practice doesn't require abandoning honesty about current difficulty. It simply adds intentional language pointed toward where you're headed as well, gently. Speaking this way plants something, quietly, the way a seed is planted long before any green shoot appears above the soil's surface. Once you practice this regularly, the gap between old story and new reality tends to narrow, gently, over time and with patience. And that narrowing, once begun, tends to continue on its own, one repeated sentence at a time, quietly. There is a moment, my dear, when repeating the old story finally becomes more exhausting than simply letting it quietly fade instead. Most people keep repeating old stories out of habit, not because they still serve any real purpose. But release tonight means something gentler than forgetting, more like simply no longer feeding what no longer fits. Whisper softly, "I release the old story and I stop repeating what no longer serves me." Feel your chest loosen, feel your breath deepen, feel something old finally begin to soften and quiet down. A woman once said the moment she stopped repeating her old story of struggle, people around her began responding to her differently, almost immediately. What had she been unknowingly reinforcing simply by continuing to repeat a story that no longer fit? Old stories persist mainly through repetition, not through ongoing truth, continuing simply because they've always been told that particular way before. Once you stop feeding an old story, it doesn't disappear instantly, but it does begin losing the energy that kept it so present. New stories, meanwhile, begin gaining that same energy, quietly, the moment you start speaking them instead of the old ones. And in that shift, your reality finally has room to begin matching the story you're now choosing to tell. Underneath every complaint, my dear, there is often a quieter voice that already knows what life you actually want to create instead. That voice doesn't shout, doesn't demand proof, it simply steadily knows the direction we're speaking toward. Tonight, let's listen past the complaint, toward whatever has been patiently waiting underneath it. Breathe in, and as you exhale, whisper, I hear the voice that knows what I want, and I choose to speak it aloud. Feel how different that sentence lands compared to the usual habit of narrating only what's currently difficult or unresolved. A young man once said that the moment he finally heard this quieter voice, his whole relationship with his own language began to change. What was that quieter voice trying to say? The entire time he was only complaining. The complaining mind often speaks first because it's louder, more urgent, demanding acknowledgement of whatever currently feels wrong or unfair right now. But underneath it, patiently, is usually a steadier voice. One that already knows exactly what it wants to create instead of complaining. Tonight, instead of only venting, simply pause and let that quieter voice speak first, gently, before anything else does or interrupts. That quieter voice, once heard, tends to bring a clarity complaint alone could never quite offer, no matter how loud it got. You don't need an entire new story ready tonight, my dear. You only need one single sentence spoken with real intention to begin. That sentence, however small, plants something, the way one seed begins an entire, eventual field of growth. Tonight, let's notice how deeply one sentence can actually matter. A retired nurse once said the single sentence, I am building a calmer life, repeated nightly for months, slowly reshaped how she moved through her days. She hadn't expected one small, repeated sentence to ripple so visibly into her entire way of living and being. What single sentence might you begin speaking tonight, gently, as the start of your own new reality? This isn't magic, it's momentum. One sentence repeated consistently tends to build toward belief, and belief tends to build toward real action. A single complaint repeated often creates the opposite momentum, subtly, without much conscious awareness of the pattern quietly forming underneath it. A single creative sentence repeated often creates forward motion instead, gently. One repetition building steadily on the last. Tonight, as you speak that one sentence, notice how much possibility a single new sentence can actually hold within it. There is a soft threshold, my dear, between the old story you've been repeating and the new reality waiting just beyond it. You are standing at that threshold right now, closer than you may realize, closer with every new sentence you've practiced tonight. Let's walk through it together. Slowly, the way one enters a quiet room without disturbing anything inside. Whisper one final time, I stop talking about my problems and I start creating my new reality, one word at a time. Let those words become softer with each repetition until they feel less like practice and more like simply who you are becoming. A woman once said that by the fourth repetition, she could no longer tell where the old story ended and the new one quietly began. That is exactly where you are welcome to arrive tonight too. This beginning doesn't require you to do anything else tonight, my dear. Only to keep speaking gently. Keep creating. Keep allowing the new story room to grow and take shape. Whatever has stirred tonight will continue quietly with you, long after this meditation has gone quiet and the room falls completely silent. You don't need to hold on to any of this consciously. Your heart already knows exactly what to do with it. Simply rest now and let tomorrow's words begin building the reality you're quietly, gently creating, one sentence at a time. There is nothing left for you to defend tonight, my dear. Only breath, only new language, only the quiet reality you've already begun creating. You've spoken gently to your old story, your habits, your repeated complaints, and each one has softened just a little tonight. That softening doesn't end the moment this meditation does. It continues quietly through the night and into the days ahead. Your words have never once stopped shaping your life, my dear, in the same quiet way they always have, without needing your constant awareness. You don't have to get every sentence perfect starting tomorrow. You only have to keep choosing new words gently, again and again. Let your breathing grow slower now. Let your thoughts grow fewer and softer, like an old story finally quieting down after being told too many times. If an old complaint drifts through, simply let it pass, the way a cloud passes without needing your permission or your attention. Old story you've been repeating is welcome to soften a little further with every new sentence you speak from here forward. Whatever complaint has felt familiar has already been set down, gently, and it doesn't need to be picked back up tonight. You are safe here, in this quiet creation, in this soft new language, in this reality you are gently building, one word at a time. Notice how much lighter your chest already feels, how much more open, how much more like possibility than it did an hour ago. Let this new story settle now, unhurried, the way real change always has, wrapping around you like something warm and quietly beginning, something that was always yours to create. And as your new reality unfolds, however it unfolds, know that it began exactly here, tonight, with a few small, quietly spoken sentences. Whatever you carried into tonight, you don't have to carry the same way tomorrow. Something has already shifted here, even if only slightly, even if only for tonight. Rest now, gently, my dear. You are creating. You are becoming. Your new reality is already quietly forming. And this quiet creation will still be here, waiting for you, for as long as you need it.